You call yourself a man? You know you're a lying, low-life, motherfucking gambling degenerate prick. You know that's what you are?
Well, hello, you degenerate fucks, and welcome to the Degenerate Gambler. It is Thursday, the 29th of October. We're just here with another episode. Just thanking our lucky stars that the international break is over. That's probably one of the worst international breaks I've had in a while. There's no bets were even really that close. Just I don't know, the Nations League. It's hard to gamble on because obviously a lot of the games are tight because of the way the groups are seeded, and those matches at the end, a lot of them are dead rubbers because teams that already been relegated or won their section, and it's just fucking But thank God it's over, and thankfully we can get back to some real football. So this week, look, I'm not going to go over the stats on last week because it doesn't really keep in with what I'm doing as far as looking at different leagues. Uh, no one gives a fuck about stats for international friendlies, basically, which is basically what they are. Um, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not even going to look back at last week's bets because they were pretty poor. And in League One, and League Two, League One there was only something like 7 games. League Two there was a full fixture, and then the National League and stuff. So I'm not even going to do the favourites and stuff. Just want to stick with the big leagues and obviously the National League too. But I'd rather have a bigger sample size of 40, 50 games where the figures actually mean something. They actually are more realistic. So anyway, what I will say is at the weekend, the only thing I got was um, I had a each way treble. That was one of Matt Brocklebank's tips. I haven't followed him much lately, to be fair. He has been on a poor run. He's had a couple of winners, a couple of places. Um, but as I say, I don't really share my horse bets on this anymore. I do very few anyway. If I have a free bet, I'll usually do it in the odd time. I'll throw a fiver here, a fiver there at a horse, usually a big price. Um, but as I say, I don't share them as much. So if you do want ones, as I say, I follow my Brocklebank. There's a couple of different guys. They're all on Sport and Life. You can go on their website. They offer tips, 3 or 4 different tips. There's offer different types of tips. There's guys who just pick horses for. There's a guy Ben Linfoot who I followed for a while. He used to do the value bet, which is what Matt Brocklebank does now. But what he does now is he picks bets for the ITV races. So if you're sitting on a Saturday and maybe there's not much football on, or you're fancying a wee horse bet and you're watching it, then we maybe follow those ones. But I like Matt Brocklebanks because he does the value bet. He's picked some great winners. Um, and even like I said, I think twice recently I've picked one of his horses each way. They both came in sort of third or fourth or whatever and got me money back. Got me a few quid because it was a free bet. One was 25, and then I think at the weekend it was 12 or 15 quid or something, which is it's not bad for nothing. And then on the boxing on Saturday night, I had a special on Sky Bet, which was that either fighter would win by KO, which was 2-1, which was decent. Considering Joe Joyce was only 4-1 to win by KO, and then you're obviously stuck that he has to win the fight, which he did dominate. Um, Parker did catch him with some good shots, but didn't seem to move him. But when you get 2-1 on either fighter, not good. I definitely didn't think it was going 12 rounds. Although as it got into the later rounds, I was starting to panic a wee bit because they both hit each other with some big shots and nobody had went down. So I was a bit worried about that. But yeah, so it was £30, it was £40. I basically probably covered my weekends betting. But last week, I mean, the last sort of week, 10 days, whatever it's been, has been very slow as far as the amount of bets I've done. I say I don't like forcing it. I don't like betting on leagues that I have no interest in or that I don't follow. So as I say, that's it. So we're back to real football, the big games. Premier League's back, Championship, all the foreign leagues, and then next week we're in the Champions League and all again. So yeah, let's get into it then. Oh, sorry, just before I do, I just missed this last week, but last week was actually the 125th episode of this podcast. So that's a pretty decent milestone. Now obviously on the page there's not as many because I delete the older ones because obviously with it being each episode is specific to that weekend, or most of them are. Some of the ones I've left up, the older ones, are ones that aren't sort of specific to that week and those bets or whatever, just different ones. But I do that sort of every year, just delete the older ones that aren't relevant, and because also the podcast provider I provide only gives me a certain amount of storage. So, I've never been near full, but I just sort of say to myself, well, I'll delete the older ones. I might leave them up a bit longer now because at the end of the day, a view's a view. If someone views an old episode, even though it's not relevant and they like it, maybe they come back. But anyway, that was just as I say, a small milestone to hit 125 episodes. I've seen a thing during the week that most podcasts don't get into the 10th episode or 15th episode. There's only something like 5% or 10% of podcasts that start that end up over something like 15 episodes. So I'm well on that. I'm well past that. Um, I still enjoy doing it. So anyway, enough shade talk. Let's look at the weekend's fixtures. So back to the two bets, main bet and over 2.5 bet. Hoping for at least one winner. So let's have a look. So main bet, first team on the main bet is Bolton. Bolton are at home to Lincoln. They're 3-5, and let's look at the form. Bolton 9 points. They're sixth in the form. They're not up at the very top. Sixth isn't bad, but Lincoln are down at 14th. There's only 2 points of a difference. So it's not huge. But Bolton's home form, 5 games played at home, and they've got 12 points, so that's pretty good. Lincoln away, 7 points away. Not terrible, but I just think Bolton have won three in a row at home, and they beat Lincoln in last year, or sorry, it was earlier this year, 3-1 at home. Lincoln's away record, bit patchy, a couple of wins, a draw, and two defeats, so nothing special. So say that's 3-5, which is 1.6 in decimal. Next is Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday are away to Port Vale. Let's look at the form. They're even money, which is 2.0. Sheffield Wednesday fourth in the table, playing Port Vale, who are 15th. Form, Sheffield Wednesday 10 points out of 15. Port Vale only 5, so double the points. Away from home, third best away record in the league. 4 games played away, Sheffield Wednesday, and have 9 points. Plymouth, only the 12th best home record, only 8 points at home all season. That's from 5 games. So even to me, there is a pretty decent price, and saying that's 2.0 in decimal. Next, we're going to the National League, and it's Chesterfield, who are currently sitting top. They are a point ahead of Wrexham, and they're playing Maidenhead, who are 18th. Form, Chesterfield level on points with Wrexham, 13 points out of 15. Maidenhead only 4 points out of the last 5. Wrexham's home form, they've only played 4 at home, which is why it's not up there, but they've played 4 at home, they've got 12 points. And Maidenhead haven't got a point away from home. Now, that sometimes is a concern. I don't like, I hate this thing when teams win 5 in a row or teams lose 5 in a row, because the duck has to be broken either way sometime. But Plymouth, great home record. Chesterfield, they've beat Maidenhead earlier in the year at home. And as I say, Maidenhead haven't got a point away from home, so I'm just hoping that continues at the weekend. Next is into the national. Is that the national south? It's Dartford. Sorry, did I give the price? Sorry, the price on Chesterfield was 2-5 at home, which is 1.4 in decimal. Next, as I say, is Dartford in the National League South. Dartford currently, of 10 games, they're 7th. And Hungerford, who they play, are 22nd, only 5 points. But form, Dartford from 5 games, they've got 12 points, so pretty good record there. And Hungerford only 1 point at home. Dartford have played 5 games. They've only got 9. They've got 9 points. That's basically 3 wins. And Hungerford only have 1 point away from home. Dartford win their last 2 at home, so that's decent recent form. And Hungerford have only got a draw and 4 defeats in the last 5 away. In games against each other, uh, the last home game, which was 2021, which you can't really look at, was a 1-0 Dartford win. But I'd say with this one, it's just the recent home form. Dartford 2 wins in a row at home, playing against a team who haven't won in 5 is sort of my thinking on that one. Just a funny thing in that league too. The Where am I? Sorry, Dartford Hungerford. Are in that league. Sorry, Ebbsfleet. Ebbsfleet only dropped their first point at the weekend there. Or sorry, was it during the week? I was going to back them, and it was Tuesday night, but they had won. It was only 100% record as far as I can see here. They won 9 in a row, home and away, which was really good. They drew there the other night, but that was their first. So that might have been something that me and maybe others missed. That you could have been on them a lot because they win 9 in a row. But anyway, moving on to my last team. Oh, sorry, Dartford Hungerford 4-6, which is 1.67 in decimal. Last team on the bet is a Swedish team, and I know a few of us are going to be sitting here waiting for my pronunciation, and they're probably going to be terrible. But it's Degerfors, who play Djurgården. I don't know, but it's Djurgården away against Degerfors. They're currently 60-11. Djurgården, who are top of the Swedish league, ahead of Malmo, ahead of Stockholm, ahead of all the big teams. They're currently top, and their opponent is 14th, which is 2 from bottom. 11 points in the last 15, top of the form table. The other side only 6 points away from home. Not the best record, 4th best in the league. 17 points from 12 games. And Degerfors have only got 13 points at home all season. Now this is in a league that obviously 23 games in, so there's bigger form there. As I say, Degerfors home form isn't bad. Two wins, 3 draws. And Djurgården's away form isn't great either, but they drew the last 2, won the 2 before that. So a couple of those games were in the Europa League as well. They drew against Shamrock and stuff, so you can't always count those. But I do fancy them. Domestically, they've been going well, sitting top of the league. Not one of the bigger teams in the league, so I fancy them in that. So they are 60-11, which is 1.55. So in total, that bet comes up to 10-1. So 10 on that's going to pay like 110. I think it was a bit over. It might have been 115 for the bet altogether. So that's that. Now I'll run on to the overs, which, as we know, we're getting to the point where we have got form there now. We can start looking at the teams who are scoring goals recently. I obviously always look at who scores goals against each other. So I'll run through these quickly. The 5 games are Bournemouth Brentford, even money, that's 2.0. Bristol City QPR, that's 5-6, 1.83 in decimal. Fleetwood Barnsley 11-10, that's 2.1. Crawley Stevenage 11-10, that's 2.1. And Dorking Dagenham and Redbridge is 3-5, that's 1.6. In total, that is 24.8. It's just under 25-1. So that's a decent one as well. Before I just go looking ahead, as I said, next week we've got Champions League and all back, so I'll run through the fixtures. Tuesday night is a pretty big night. So Championship 6 games, League 1 4 games, League 2 4 games, National League full fixture list of 12. There's 8 Champions League games. There's an SPL game. There's a Scottish Championship game and a Scottish League 1 game. So a pretty decent, night's football. Let's have a look at what those Champions League games are on Tuesday. So anything stand out? Inter play Barcelona, which could be a good game. Liverpool Rangers could be a good game. That's about it for Tuesday. Then on Wednesday night we have smaller fixture list. Only 6 championship, 8 Champions League, 1 SPL game, and 1 Scottish League 1 game. The Champions League games on those nights, anything that stands out. Let me see here. AC Milan, Chelsea, Seville, Dortmund, maybe Celtic, Leipzig. So some decent games. And then Thursday we're just Europa League, Europa Conference, 16 of each, so 32 games. Obviously they'll be split between early and late. So that is the fixtures. That is the bets. So yeah, that's another episode. It just leaves me to say, if you are doing a bet, good luck and happy pumping.
Here, get the fuck out of here. Here, thanks. Let me find out you fucked up. I'll leave you wherever I find you.